welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be my May and June wrap up. I was in a reading slump for the majority of the 2 months, so I didn't read that many books, but I still read 8 in total, which I think it's a great number, and I read some pretty good ones. The first book that I read is Water Under the Bridge by Kels and Denise Stone. So it's rivals to lovers, a workplace romance, he falls first. A lot of good tropes, but it wasn't for me. I ended up giving it 2 stars. I did not really enjoy it. First of all, it was extremely forgettable for me. I think that it was way too long for what it was. So we have Avery and Luca, and basically Luca works in this organization that helps clear the ocean, something like that, and Avery's dream job is to work there. She goes for an interview and he rejects her, but they end up needing to work together, and I guess they start getting closer and stuff like that. There were a lot of things missing. I didn't care about them. I honestly hardly remember the book, and that's not a good sign. I will say I have seen people enjoying it. It wasn't for me. It was very boring, and I feel like it focused a lot on the work stuff, which yes, it was interesting, but I would love if it focused on the romance a bit more. It just felt pretty flat. The next book that I read is Until I Met You by Amber Rose Gill. I gave it 4 stars. It was a very fun read. I annotated it, and this is kind of the first book that I went crazy with annotating it. I really enjoyed it. It was a cute, fun read. It wasn't anything incredible, but it still gave me the summer vibes. I still really enjoyed it. So we have Samantha and Roman. Yes, Roman. She goes to this place for her best friend's wedding, and there she meets Roman, and it's basically the romance between them. It wasn't what I expected. I expected it to be a lot more cutesy and fun, but I feel like it kind of delved into friendships, and more a bit on her finding herself, because we go through a journey of her trying to really find herself and do what she wants with her life. I think that it was done very well. Then I read another book on my Kindle, which was Reluctantly Yours by Erin Hawkins. I saw this book on BookTok, I think, a couple of months ago, and I was very interested about it. Obviously, they're enemies to lovers. I love enemies to lovers, and it's a workplace romance, kind of. So we have Barrett. I don't know how you pronounce that. He's a millionaire, billionaire, whatever. He's rich. Basically, he needs someone to fake date him, so he seems more of a family guy and more reliable, I guess. And he ends up fake dating his mother's assistant, Chloe. It did remind me a bit of Enocho Miku by Megan Quinn, which is one of my 5-star reads. I love that book, so I was very intrigued. The beginning was very interesting, but I didn't really feel their love, if I'm being honest. I don't know, I feel like there was something missing with a connection, with a chemistry with each other, even though it was a very fun read and I did really enjoy it. But again, I wanted more. I wanted more chemistry, so I ended up giving it 3 stars. Those were all the books that I read in May, and now we're gonna go into June, which I read a bit more because halfway through the month I got out of my reading slump. The next book I also read on my Kindle, and it's That Kind of Guy by Stephanie Archer. This is the first book of the Queen's Cove series. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought that it was really cute. I really like their chemistry. I really like their banter. I really like this book. I did not expect to, and this is probably the book that helped me get out of my reading slump. This one and the next book that I'm gonna talk about. It was so cute, so funny, and I loved everything about it. Their banter was incredible. We have Emmett and Avery. Avery works in this restaurant. She's the manager of it, and she basically wants to buy it, but she doesn't have the money for it yet. Emmett is a businessman. He's rich. Again, love me a rich man in books. He runs for mayor of the town, but okay, I definitely have a type in books, but people don't want to vote for him because he's not a family guy. They think that he's not reliable because of it. And he's like, okay, you want someone to co-sign this loan? I need someone to fake date with. And they struck up a deal. And it was incredible. I gave it 3.75. And it definitely made me want to continue with the series. The next book that I read is a newer release, I think. It's Vacation Wars by Megan Quinn. I have read so many books by Megan Quinn. She's definitely one of my favorite authors. I really enjoy her writing, and usually I like her books, and she once again did it with this one. I really enjoyed it. It was so fun. This is set in Greece, and we have Tessa and Miles. Basically, Miles works in this hotel in Santorini that his family owns, and he has been working there for years. and Tessa has been going there every single summer when she was young to that hotel. They have developed this crush for each other, but they have never talked. And years later, they end up talking, and it was so cute. I really enjoyed their relationship and how they went from strangers to lovers. I will say, it did feel a bit insta-lovey because you don't really get time lapses on the past, so you don't really see them fall in love. You just hear them talk about it, or, you know, obviously you read their thoughts. So you see them saying stuff like, oh, I used to watch him do that all the time. I used to have this huge crush on him, and I loved when he did that. I loved when she did that. So I do think that that kind of made you feel a tiny bit disconnected from their romance, because yes, for them it has been years in the making, but for the reader, I did feel like it was out of the blue. They just really liked each other, and you didn't really see the start of that. I don't know if that makes any sense. Now, that being said, I still really like their romance and I enjoyed the relationship, but I do wish that we just could have gotten a couple of flashbacks to them when they were younger. I don't know, maybe in the beginning of the story. Also, in this book, her sister and her two friends that she's going on vacation with are trying to find her a guy to date, which was... It was fun at the beginning, but then it started to be kind of tiring and annoying, if I'm being honest, because her sister had issues. She was very annoying, she was very mean, very kind of manipulating, it felt like. I did not like her at all, even at the end where you see her redemption against, or her reasoning for that. I still didn't feel sorry for her. And that was the main thing about this book that I didn't really enjoy. It was frustrating. It was extremely frustrating. And I think that most people's criticism with this book is exactly that they didn't love her and her friends, her friendship. Personally, I just took it more of a, yes, this is a romance, but this is also kind of like a general fiction book that deals with different relationships. For example, in this book, we explore Miles and his dad relationship, and at the same time, obviously, Tessa and her sister / friend group's relationship. So I kind of saw it as that and not just a full-on romance book. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It's definitely not my favorite book from Megan Quinn, but I do think that it's a good book, and especially for summer, I think that the setting was incredible. And honestly, her sister being so annoying and mean created a bunch of cute moments between Tessa and Miles, so you win some, you lose some. And then I actually reread a book, one of my 5-star reads, and that is Mile High by Lee Stomford. I read it for the first time in January of this year, and I was obsessed with it. I'm still obsessed with it. I love the characters, I love the book, and it's not a small book. I think it's around 500 pages, and usually I don't love books that are that long. I feel like they can be shorter, but with that book, I wanted it to be longer. I still love it. I still am obsessed with the characters. I still am obsessed with the story. I still love Lee Stomford's writing, and it's definitely still one of my 5-star reads. Basically, we have Stevie and Xander's. Xanders is a hockey player and Stevie is the flight attendant of his team's private jet. And when they first meet each other, Xanders is a playboy and kind of an ass, and he's like, ooh yeah, I am Xanders. Yeah, I am so hot. Yes, I'm such a good hockey player, such a popular hockey player. And basically Steve was like, I don't care, I just want to do my job. And it's the romance between them. In the beginning, they don't really like each other. Obviously, Stevie does not like him. She thinks that he's such a rude and cocky guy, which, to be fair, he is in the beginning. But he ends up being such a great character, and you really feel the relationship growing and them becoming closer, and how they start to care for each other and really love each other. And it was so incredible. It was, just thinking about it, I want to go and reread the book again. I love them so much. They are one of my favorite couples. I cannot wait for the rest of the books in this series to come out. The next book that I read is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I finally read this book. I think it was very popular last year. So yeah, it took me a while, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this book, even though it's a bit of a chunkier book. It's 429 pages. It dealt with some very serious things, very serious issues. If you have read this book, you know what I'm talking about. This was such a good book. It was funny, it was cute, it was sweet, it was spicy. It had pretty much everything. I loved Nate. I loved Anastasia. She definitely wasn't what I expected, because basically people say it's a black cat and golden retriever, and I definitely see that, but hearing it without having read the book, I thought that she was going to be so mean and so rude, but she wasn't. She was a bit more closed off, but I don't think that that's a bad thing. We have Nate and Anastasia. Anastasia is a figure skater and Nate is a hockey player, and something happens and they end up having to train in the same arena. Anastasia is very annoyed about that because she's like, I do not have time or energy to deal with this. And Nate, being the golden retriever that he is, tries to get on her good side and be friends with her. But she's not having it. She's like, I don't want to be a friend. I want you to go back to your own arena. And it basically goes from there, and you see them being a friends with benefits kind of situation, and then being in a relationship. This is definitely a found family kind of book, and this is the first book in a series, so I'm hoping that we will continue to see the found family in the next books. While reading the book, you felt like you were part of the friend group. And even though they teased each other, you still knew that they had each other's backs. I really enjoyed her writing. I laughed out loud at so many moments. I swooned. I truly fell in love with this book, and I cannot wait to read the rest of the series. The next book is coming out, I want to say October. And the last book that I read in the month of June is The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. This is the first book that I read from this author. This is one of the OG popular BookTok books. Everyone raved about it. They were like, oh, this is a friends to lovers and it's so cute and it's fake dating and stuff. And I finally decided to pick it up. I kind of regret it. I did not like it. We have Nathan and Brie. He's a football player, and she has her own ballet studio that she teaches. They have been friends for years now. They both have feelings for each other, but they're scared to admit it, and they end up fake dating. And don't get me wrong, that plot sounds so good, so right up my alley. I truly thought that I would enjoy it. I was like, oh, this is going to be a fluffy, cutesy romance read. It wasn't. I ended up giving it 1.75 stars. I liked Nathan, I enjoyed his character, but Brie was so childish. She was so honestly annoying at times. And I get it. He's your best friend. You don't want to ruin the friendship. But at the same time, he speaks to you. He talks to you. Like, he is in love with you. And, you know, he lets some stuff slip out that, you know, show that he really, really loves you. So many people are telling you that he really loves you, but you're like, no, he's not. He's definitely not attracted to me. And I'm like, how can you be so blind? How can you be so blind? And at the same time, she's so childish. She's so childish. She acts like she's 16 years old. If this was set in high school, I probably would have given it a higher rating, but this is grown-up people. They're at their late 20s and they're acting like they're in high school. And I think Nathan wasn't that bad, but Brie was definitely acting like a teenager, and not in a good way, not like in a fun way, in a very annoying way. That's all I had to say. Those were all of the books that I read in May and June. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to. I hope that I will see you in my next video. Bye!